Colin Cloud. I know you've seen him out there. He's been all over the place. He's been on AGT. He loves messing with those judges. You can see it really good here with Howie and Mel B, freaking them out a little bit. And more recently, you may have seen him on the very, very well-known Las Vegas Strip at the Mirage with Shin Lim in his show Limitless. And we're so proud to bring him here today for you guys during the whole quarantine stuff going on. The one and only Colin Cloud. How we doing, sir?
I'm wonderful, sir. How are you?
It's good to have you here, man. I'm doing well. Getting a little stir crazy, but you know how it is.
Oh, don't we all? Don't we all? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's everyone says it, but an interesting time to be alive, right?
true that, man. True that. So the big elephant in the room is with everything going on, what the heck have you been doing to stay busy?
Oh, sure. I mean, the honest truth is that I've been working on a bunch of like, for the first time in years, just by chance, a number of releases for magicians. Because now that I'm in Vegas, I was touring with illusionists for years, but now that I've been in one place, I've had all these ideas that I have used for a bit, then shelved, and I'd actually started writing a book for magicians, looking at releasing products for magicians. So I'm using this time to basically collate all of that and work on projects that will at some point see the light of day now much sooner than they would have done. So if anything, it's more my
Cool.
schedule has just been reorganized. But really, I'm really just trying to stay productive. I ran the first day it happened. I'll be honest. We got home. We were on tour. I came home, and my wife Chloe will tell you, like, I just sat on the sofa for like a day, just feeling like really down and like really a bit lost.
Oh, wow.
And like, yeah, it was like, and I was like, no, this cannot be how I choose to react to this. And it was like, how can I do everything possible to stay busy, to stay active, to stay productive? And since then, I've given myself a real shake, and I've been using this time to just stay on top of it and do everything constructive that I can, so that when we get out the other side of this, which will be hopefully, very soon, but realistically, it might take us a little while, but, the other side of this, I want to be as strong, if not stronger, than I was mentally, physically, than, going into it.
Yeah, man. It's definitely shook us all up a good bit. And it's great that we, have a chance to chat with you. And also, it's great that we're able to do this because and if you look below, if you like and comment on this video, because we know you guys are stuck at home, everyone that likes and comments on this video is entered to win a free at the table lecture. Now, it doesn't mean you all win one, it means you're entered. And it's going to be a download. So we'll send it to you first thing Monday, give you some magic, your choice of any at the table lecture, absolutely free. So do that as well. Do it to it.
Wow.
Um,
I love that you're bribing them to basically stay tuned and pay attention. That's hilarious. Yeah.
I would never do that. I would never do that.
Cool. Yeah.
Why don't we kind of kick things off where you started to really, really, really make a dent? I'm going to bring up some footage here. One of my favorite clips of you on America's Got Talent. You with Simon Cowell, the man himself. Tell us what it's like to be on that show, because it's a show that a lot of people have seen, they've watched, they've thought of auditioning for. But what is it like to be on AGT?
So I'll be honest and say initially that I didn't want to do it. They asked me, I very politely said no, thank you. And then they asked my manager, he said no, thank you on my behalf. And then they went to Simon Painter, who owned Illusionist, and Simon phoned me and said, hey, you're doing a AGT. And I was like, oh, I don't want to. And he was like, no, 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 you're doing AGT. And it felt like your boss saying you're working Sunday. And you're like, nah, I've got plans. And they're like, nah, you're working Sunday. So it was like, oh, okay. And I'd heard horror stories. I was on tour with Kevin James, and Kevin didn't have the greatest experience with it. So like already I was nervous to, and here's the thing, I realized if you go on AGT, the best you can kind of hope for really is to be part of Illusionist for a while. And I was already there. So I'm like, why would I do this to myself? So I did audition number one, and on the calls leading up to it, I had a bunch of ideas, and they basically shot down every one of them. And I was like, this is what I've heard. This is the horror stories I've been hearing. And then I got to the point where I was homesick, missing my family, missing my cats, and I said, cool, I'll do it, but you need to get me a cat. And they went, oh, that we can do. And I was like, what? And now I've got to come up with a routine using a freaking cat. So I went there, filmed the first audition, and realized the team were very much on my side. They were very much behind me. They were very supportive of like everything that I wanted to do after that. And I really actually enjoyed the experience. It was like the horror, they must have, I think, have changed the way that they approach treating the acts now. compared to the early days where they wanted to like make it a parody. Look at how ridiculous that hair is, by the way. Look at that. This is one true story. The one thing I didn't like is that they wanted me to like take out all of the comedy of what I do. So you've seen me recently live, and like I love comedy, but they wanted me to be very mysterious with the eyeliner and be this like creepy type guy that knows everything about you. And it was like, right, okay, they know what they're doing, so I'll kind of trust that. That's the only thing that maybe I would have been a little bit more in control of myself, was the way that I was perceived. But genuinely, ultimately, apart from like, you know, a few little, some of this stuff was designed purely for this show, so you can rehearse it to a point, but really you're doing it live and raw, you know, in real time. And it's like there are certain things that I would now, looking back, definitely change, that I definitely learned from, you know, error of my ways. But on the whole, honestly, I had an amazing experience. I was very well looked after. The audience response on the whole was amazing. And yeah, and I also love now when people see the show that Shin and I do together, they'll often say after it, it's like, we saw you on AGT, but you were way better here, which is annoying and a compliment. But I'd rather it be that way around. I'd rather they be like, yeah, why were you not as good as TV? You know, I'd rather it be this way around. So no, I really enjoyed it. Anyone thinking about doing it, like, as long as the material that you have is like unique, and you know why you're going on there, like you've got a defined character and you're looking to basically use that as a springboard to the next thing. Don't look at that as being the thing that will define you. Look at it as being the springboard to the thing that you do next. And as long as you enter it with that mindset, and as long as the material that you're doing is yours and tells the story of you and portrays the character of you, then I think, you know, then you should definitely, you know, if you want to, you should, you know, really consider doing it. I think it's the modern day equivalent of like the old, like going on Johnny Carson, you know, back in the 60s, 70s, you know, that era. It's unfortunately, it's the modern day equivalent of that. It's basically a variety show. As much as I don't appreciate the judging aspect from people who don't really get our craft or understand our craft. I mean, maybe Cowell does now a little bit, now that he's seen so much magic. Sure. But I definitely think it's just a great platform. It's certainly, you know, 16 million people watch that, and it's like, well, you know, that's a good number.
Yeah, just a little bit. Jeez.
Yeah.
And of course, as I'm showing footage from AGT, they've already flagged this video. Man, are they quick? And I didn't even have any audio on it. Wow, that was quick. They're good. Wow. They're good.
What happened? Sorry, what happened? You were showing it, and they.
Oh, I mean, we're still good. I've got a flag now that AGT has already tagged this video as for using their footage. So wow, that was quick.
That is hilarious.
Wow. Also, I'm running a little interactive question on Facebook, and if you guys want to click on the video here, the little player, and you'll see it. There's a question at the bottom that says, "If you could really read minds, would you want to?" The reason I say that is because. You know, people think, oh, it would be great, but what if it happened where you had to hear it all the time? If you had to hear voices all the time, you know, that's where I think it's not just like a fun thing to do. It's, well, if you had to hear it all the time, would you really want to? And most people are saying yes. Most people are actually saying yes, they would like to read minds if they really could. They would really want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, right? I mean, the way I play it is more like Sherlock Holmes, where I'm reading people all the time, you know, but. You know, and there's an element of, you know, close your eyes and you kind of switch it off. But like, yeah, if you really could read minds, I think I would probably want to. You know, I think the world would certainly be a much more honest place if we could all do it. But no, I think, I think obviously if you've got the choice of having a superpower or not, who's going to turn that down? It's like, of course you're going to take that. Yeah, I could live with that.
Yeah. Here's a question. From Michael Red over on Facebook. He says, do you feel that truly being who you are when performing is best? So being genuine or just being true to who you are, do you think it's the best idea? You know, as a performer, it's kind of a tricky thing, huh?
I think, to try and I think you're better trying to perform as yourself first to understand who you are before you try and perform as a character. Yeah. Like in the UK, there's an amazing comedian called Tom Binns, who performs a few different characters. One, his first claim to fame was a character called Ivan Brackenbury, which is like a hospital radio DJ, and all the songs he plays are like super inappropriate for like the people that have requested a song in the hospital. And it's like, YouTube Ivan Brackenbury, and I don't want to butcher it by like ruining the surprises, so watch him. But he has another character called Ian D. Montfort, who is a psychic. apparently, but everything's done through comedy. Like he'll say to like a man in the audience, think about the number of kids you have. It's four, and the guy will go no two, and he'll focus and go no, it's definitely four. So like like funny cold reading approaches like that, and he is hilarious, but he's only so good at the characters because he also understands who he is as a performer and as an individual when he's on stage. Personally, I have never really tried to perform as a character. I've maybe tried to change my image slightly at certain times, but I've learned that very much me on stage is just like a genuine exaggeration, perhaps, of who I really am, or maybe not even an exaggeration. It's just I'm wearing a microphone, and people are always like, "You're hilarious," like because of the ad libs and stuff that I say to people. I more look at it like I'm just being honest. It's just like, what would I really love to say to that person? And now I'm in a position where I just say this stuff, and thankfully it's taken as being funny when really I'm actually being quite harsh, and they think I'm joking, but I'm not. I'm just being honest. But no, I definitely think you want to define who you are, and I think the bigger lesson that I've learned as well is that the tricks should always be secondary. The demonstrations, whatever you're doing, the number one thing should be you and the connection that you have with the audience, and however you find best to do that. And the routines should support that connection, because the connection is like where the real magic happens anyway. And the routines that you perform should ultimately just be the driving mechanism to create more of those amazing moments within that interaction. But you are definitely the thing. Like I want people to remember me rather than the tricks that I do. That's number one key. I feel like if you don't have that lasting memory, then you've not fully thought through what it is you're doing, and you're relying too much on hiding behind the tricks as opposed to using them to bolster who you are.
Well said. Well said. I mean, it sounds like you've done this. Just kidding.
I've dabbled. Yeah.
Um, uh, Renee says, I've heard that the AGT experience can be a bit painful. I know that TV in general, AGT is a reality show. It's reality TV. Is that type of situation, that type of show, is it tough? I mean, it's TV, but I mean, without
Yeah.
being dirty about it, like what kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
experience is it,
I mean, I'll be honest. I really hate doing TV. I don't enjoy it. It's like
Oh,
this
wow.
false performance environment. Like when Shin and I have to get up at 5 a.m. to get picked up at 6 a.m. to go to a TV studio to do an interview for like 5 minutes. There's not enough. When I do stuff for people, I want them to care, because unless people care about you and what it is you're doing, it's like it's never gonna do it justice. It's kind of like pointless. Like I loved when Derek Delgadio went on Stephen Colbert show and he didn't do any tricks. He just talked about the show. Like there's pros and cons for both ways of looking at it, but I massively respected the fact he just went on there and just artistically chose the fact that, you know what, doing a trick here does not do the quality of what it is I'm sharing on that stage in that theater justice. Therefore, I'm going to talk about it and not do anything. And I was like, that is a bold move. Whereas, David Blaine would go on a show and he would perform, three or four things in quick succession.
Yeah.
So there's no right or wrong. There's only your artistic decision of what it is you want to do. Now, when I go on these shows to promote anything, and long story short, the only reason anyone does TV really is for ticket sales, right? It's just
True.
if you want to get famous, get a TikTok account, work your ass off, and build a following, and cool, loads of 13-year-old people around the world are gonna love you and what you do. You're famous in that market, Not everyone watches AGT, so the truth is, not everyone knows who Shin Lim is. Not everyone watches ABC. Not everyone knows who David Blaine is. In fact, on one of the specials, on one of the volunteers on the TV show the other night, he did the full thing, and he was saying to David things like, "You're like Harry Houdini," and the other guy's like, "Who? This is David Blaine." Like the guy's like, "Who's David Blaine?" And he's like, "Dude, he like stood in like he held his breath for 4 weeks or something." He said something hilarious, but unless you watch these certain shows, the world, the idea of a shared media platform now, even like this, is like so limited these days because there are so many that it's like finding the places that are, the quality. And as long as what you do is the quality version of that thing, then you will be found. You will stand out. And if you're purely trying to get famous, then in my opinion, you're in it for the wrong reasons, first of all. But the only reason I do TV now is for that level of profile, to sell the tickets, to do it on that level. And AGT, as I said, is a great platform. So as long as you go on there and what you have is unique and yours, like I would feel so dirty going on to one of those shows and just doing 3 store-bought routines. Like I couldn't bring myself to do it. I would feel like, yeah, dead inside if I was relying on, some of these amazing products that are out there that can be used in like really, like, for example, finding which hand the coin is in. Like I love that concept, but
Yep.
in my opinion, Darren Brown owns it. It's hit like the same way that Paul Daniels did Chop Cup in the UK, and then for years after, everyone wanted to do his routine. It's like
Yeah, true.
well,
Yeah.
okay, Chop Cup existed before, but that presentation is Paul Daniels. You don't have to. I think a lot of time magicians can get into this mindset of buying a prop, putting it in the drawer after the magic convention. A year later, they see someone use that prop in an amazing, unique presentation, and they think, well, oh, I've got that. That's how to do it. So because I own the prop, I own the right to do it that way. And
Right.
it's like, no, it's like that is so wrong. And that's why I always see magic as, the I think the name is called the Ouroboros, the snake, the serpent eating its own tail.
Yep.
And I feel like if we continue being like that, then magic is going to ultimately consume itself because there will be no new ideas. We'll be all doing the same things. People will have seen the same stuff. And yeah, it's going to be horrendous. Like I loved the thing Weber put on Twitter probably a few years ago now, where Michael Weber said something to the effect of, I would rather see someone do something new badly
Hmm.
than someone do something old well. I'm paraphrasing. But the idea that not enough people are taking risks these days in magic. They're playing it very safe. They're seeing someone do something, it gets a reaction, and
Sure.
they think, I want to replicate that. And so the reason I'm saying this is AGT painful? No, it's not painful. Is it hard? If you want to do it well, yes. And if that scares you, then cool, there's your answer. You shouldn't be going on AGT yet. You're not ready for it yet, in my opinion. But I'm saying that for the right reasons. What I'm really saying is don't go do it until you're in a place where you can really benefit from it and do something that's going to allow you to shine. If you go on there and do just friggin' double cross and French kiss, it's like, by the way, they're two of the best magic tricks in existence today, right? They are phenomenal routines, but unless you've got a unique way of doing them. So to go back to coin in hand, as much as, that's been in existence for years, when I did it, I wanted to make it not as far away from what I'd seen Darren do, and make it not about the tell, make it about the prediction of the thing at the end, and use it as a something just so off the wall. And it's like, cool, if you want to do double cross, what else can you use it for that isn't just that? Without taking away from the simplicity of that routine, what else can you do with that thing? As an example, what else can you do with it or use it for that is still as amazing, but is like so off the wall that it's like, this is a brand new routine now. It feels so different. And I feel like if you're going to do anything on TV and you're trying to like make any sort of name for yourself positively, then I think you owe it to your audiences to do that. I think as soon as people start paying to watch you live, then you need to have a certain element of your own invested time, effort, energy, thought process, personality, all these things on the routine so that you deserve to be there. If you want to be considered an artist, you need to have at least invested some of that time. And that is the part that is painful, but it's also the part that's going to make you excel.
Yeah. Well said. We've got some live questions coming in too. Do you mind if we jump to a couple of
No, I'd love
those?
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
We can keep these short and sweet because I know we have a lot.
Okay,
So if
yeah,
you want to,
I'll gun through them, but I'll try and be,
cool.
yeah.
John Shackelford, and the reason I say that is because this is a loaded question. How do you approach scripting, which is a
So
huge topic? So,
it is, but in short, I spend half my time writing comedy and half my time coming up with routines. So basically, every day I sit for 3 hours at this laptop and I just write.
oh wow,
And maybe at the end of that 3 hours, I get like two jokes that are amazing, or two stories, or two concepts, or two ideas that are amazing. But the 3 hours that I put in, to get two things out of it, that for me is like gold. When I'm script, so I build a bank of those. Then when I come up with a new routine, I'll look at which of those best suit certain routines, position them, put them in place, and then I'll try them out. I'll tweak things, but basically for every routine I do on stage, the backbone, I see it like the easiest way of describing it is like a tree starting at the bottom. The intro is always going to be the same, but then as we get into it, depending on the people, the choices, my routines can go in like so many different branch directions that when we start getting into it, I've got all of these planned. So once you get your script up and running, what I do is I think it's in a book by Dan Kennedy, who's a marketing expert. It's called The Positive Power of Negative Preparation.
hmm.
And what he means by that is, so visualization, like you visualize your routine going perfectly, and then you go back to the beginning and you visualize doing it. And at every step, you imagine everything that could go wrong, or everything they could say, or everything that could be awkward or weird or annoying or crazy, or like what could fail. And you visualize that happening, and then you visualize what you would do or react or how you would respond to that to still capitalize and own that moment, essentially. So I very much do that visualization process for everything. Then I get out onto stages for like 5-10 minute open spots. I run this stuff, and then I film everything that I do on like a little GoPro or on my phone. I have a secret, not secret, but like unlisted YouTube videos that I send to my best friend, a guy called David Gerard, who is, in my opinion, the smartest, best magician, annoyingly, you'll ever see because of the way his brain works. He's like the funniest guy. He can like learn all the annoying sleight of hand stuff. I send all the videos to him,
Okay.
and he sends his to me, and we just basically critique each other. And it's quite harsh, but it's because our heart's in the right place. And not only do we say why something's bad, but how to make it better. So writing all these stuff, always be writing, always visualize stuff, try it out, film it, take notes, reflect, improve, start again.
Rinse and repeat. There you go. Nice. Again, guys, we do have the open question here on Facebook. If you haven't answered it yet, it'll pop up below this video. If you're on your phone, just tap the video and it'll pop up at the bottom of the screen. It's an interactive tag. It's basically asking if you could read minds, would you want to? We've got a lot of yeses, a few nos. Let us know your thoughts. Our next question comes in. Tim Hall. This is a good question about mentalism because it's one of those things that's kind of not, it's not, there's not a lot of resources, I think, out there. And that is, how do you feel about doing radio?
Yeah, this is going to seem crazy, but I actually enjoy doing radio way more than I do TV shows. Okay. This is like, it's so I've done more TV, but the radio that I have done is actually, it's like way more fun because what we do is largely auditory anyway, and it's talking, and you don't need to see things. And radio presenters are so good at voicing what it is they're thinking and feeling. So their reactions are already conditioned to be way better. There's a clip of me on Kiss FM when I was first doing the Illusionist promotion for their shows, and I was on Kiss FM, and their reactions, they're like screaming, which in the UK is rare. Like you Americans, you love a bit of screaming. Yeah. But in the UK, it's like so rare, but their reactions were just amazing. I think mentalism on the radio is like perfectly suited there. Dunninger proved it back in the day. And I think as long as you are a competent, interesting performer, you can talk competently, you have interesting stories, you have good use of your voice, so you're not very monotoned, then I think you can come across incredibly well. The right level of enthusiasm to meet with the presenters, and I think the stuff that you can do there can get as good, if not better, reactions than doing it on a TV show. So, even magicians that are listening, thinking of routines that can be more auditory in nature when you're on radio, I think is the move. And yeah, you'll sail it.
All right, very good, very good. A lot of great questions out here. Good God. And also, guys, if you haven't yet, because we did have a little hiccup with the AGT people, who we are now back up and running, by the way. Make sure to tag a friend in the comments. Just tag a friend, guys. A magician, a friend that loves mentalism. The feed did get jacked up for a minute, so help us get the word back out there. Or just share this. Share this on a magic group or on your own feed. We had a ton of people. AGT hit, and we're growing again. We're getting back up there, but we did take a hit.
What happened there? What did they do? I mean, I've got time. Like, we can stay here for a minute. So, like,
yeah, it was basically just I was playing some footage. They flagged me because it was footage that they own. I actually, while you were chatting, I responded to it, and now we're back up. So I basically disputed it, and here we are again. So
nice.
They got to me first. So yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah. We're all learning. Wow, AGT are on it.
It was very quick, and I didn't even have any audio playing. That's the crazy part.
Amazing.
So yeah, guys, if you help me out here, tag a friend in the comments or share this post. Here's a question from Michael Weiss. A good question, actually. Kind of get to know you better here. What or who has inspired you into developing your character when on stage performing? Good question.
Yeah, okay. So number one, my character on stage is me. When I was younger, though, I was very, like, most people that get into magic or any sort of performing art form like this, where you need to engage with people, I was very shy and reserved as a kid. Like, if you'd met me as a kid, when I was 13, like, the fear of standing up in class and giving a talk in, like, English lessons made me sick for weeks. I would have, like, honestly, it was horrendous. But I remember one thing that stood out to me in a Blackpool Magic, Blackpool Magic convention, by chance was watching a magician compete in the close-up magic on the Friday night, and he said something that stuck with me ever since, and that is fake it until it's like real, and like the idea of confidence. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pretend to be confident. So that was like the initial trigger to pretend that I had confidence, not like arrogance, not like cockiness, but just pretending. And then I realized the more you do it, the easier it's like a muscle, the easier it becomes. So that definitely helped me to then find and discover the real me in life, not just on stage, is the truth. So that helped. Also, Sherlock Holmes and the back catalogue of the stories and the TV shows, all of that helps as well. I love that you're playing AGT footage as well here as well. You're taking a risk. You're such a maverick.
I'm going for it, baby.
Yeah, you are. Look at you. Look at Howie rubbing those thumbs. But yeah, so basically the Sherlock stuff kind of guides what I do on stage. But the character is genuinely just me. Like, I'm very influenced by comedy. I love comedy. Comedy is like my number one thing in the world. Mentalism's number two, but they're very close, like at the top. But I love watching comedians. Like, I love people like Stuart Lee in the UK who will tell a joke, then he will dissect and analyze the joke for the rest of the set, and it becomes funnier the more he tells it. I love people like Anthony Jeselnik, who is an incredibly dark and harsh comedian, but the structure of his comedy is amazing. But I don't just love the comedy. I love watching how these guys handle and control themselves on stage. So like if you want to be really like influenced by people outside of our art form, I very much recommend you watch comedians. And you know, if anyone, it's tough to be told what comedian you're like if you're not used to like trying like being funny anyway. But I think just watch comedians, and the ones that you enjoy are the ones that are kind of most like you, I feel. And just look at how they are on stage, and like don't steal their jokes, but certainly watch their mannerisms, watch how they move, watch where they sit, where they stand. How do they take the microphone out of the holder at the beginning? Like, how do they interact with people? Where are they looking? Who are they talking to? I think when you start like magic, if you could, my dream performance would be like to do an hour show and only one routine right at the very end, and the full show is like the build up to that routine. Like the full show would be kind of comedy and like analyzing human beings, and at the very end we do that one thing. And I think the respect that that routine would then have built up properly at the end would make it like the most powerful piece of magic they'd ever seen, because you know that's the anticipation of getting there. But I definitely think that my character is very much just me. I think, you know, like I mentioned David already, who has massively helped guide, certainly, again, the comedy muscle, the writing muscle, the creative muscle, all of these muscles, the more fine-tuned you can make them, the quicker you get at coming up with solutions to things. And, you know, David and, you know, people like Ken Weber have very much helped me fine-tune that very quickly. And it is a case of just being honest and getting real feedback. And you know what? To begin with, it's kind of hard. I'll never forget the first time David watched me was in Vegas, do a show, a routine that I had been doing for like 4 or 5 years, and I thought it was perfect. And at the end, he went, "Hey, listen, I've got a bunch of notes for you." And I was like, "A bunch of notes?" And he went, "Yeah." And what made it even funnier was he'd written them all out on the back of a Johnny Rockets burger bag. So
Are you serious?
yeah, that's what really hurt. But no, but like all those notes were like gold. And as soon as I'm like, oh my God, yes. So as much as it's hard to hear sometimes, and this is the thing, if you could really read minds, right? If you're a mentalist, you would know that your audience are maybe bored at that point. You would know the audience think that's how he's doing it, right? So you would fix those things. So if you can't be honest with yourself or take the honest feedback, you're never going to be as good as you can be. And I think you're doing yourself a disservice. So I think the quicker you can get this quality and real, constructive but heartfelt feedback from someone that you trust, the quicker you're going to be even better.
Well said. Here's a question about being better that I've seen come up a couple of times, and I want to make sure we get to this one because this is a great question from Adam over on Facebook. He says, is there a specific venue or type of venue where you logged your quote unquote flight time, 10,000 hours, whatever? Great question, because that's how you get better, just by doing it, right? So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you, right, there's two things. One, I had the luxury growing up of having the Edinburgh Festival on my doorstep, which is like the world's largest arts culture festival in the world. So, like, I think that in itself massively influenced me every year, being able to go see these shows and see, like, this is the thing. Comedians every year write 1 hour of new material, right? Mm-hmm. Now, every year then, I had to have a new 1 hour show. Now, so like comedians use certain tricks and techniques to like the rug pull and except there are certain structures they keep the same way we can keep certain methods, but I think we could all be better like changing our presentations like more and just expanding and becoming more and more different, more and more unique as we go. But Edinburgh was definitely a big help to learn how to evolve that side of it. And then when I was about 25, 26, around about that time, I discovered a venue in Glasgow called Wild Cabaret. Now, you can quickly Google Wild Cabaret. I'm sure, much like the rest of the world, it's closed at the moment, but you'll see images of it. And essentially, it was like a 1940s, 1950s speakeasy with one stage. People would come in, there were like tables all around the room. People would come into the venue and they would watch like a cabaret show. I will say every other act in the show was visual to loud music. People were coming in throughout the night at different times. Food was being served throughout the night. Drinks were being served throughout the night. People were, chatting loud, shouting at each other to get like this was a loud venue, expecting visual stuff. And I was booked on the first night to do 10 minutes, and I'll be honest and say that I died like on my ass. It was dreadful. And I
Jeez.
went and thought about it, and I was like, right, how do I conquer this room? And that's literally the word I was thinking. How do you conquer it? And the idea, well, basically, long story short, I played that venue for like 2 years, pretty much every Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Wow.
And it got to the point where I ended up having a 25-minute set that I did straight through. And I learned in that venue, and this is my exact thinking, I learned how to walk on that stage, grab the audience, literally by the whatevers, and hold their focus for that full 25 minutes. And basically, that is the room where I developed. You saw the show with Shin recently. That's the room where I developed two of the four main things that I still do in my life. Like they've evolved since then, now that it's more relaxed. But learning how to perform in that environment with distractions, with noise, with people not really paying attention, and learning how to literally grab them, make them laugh, make them gasp all the way through. Shin is amazing in his magic routines, machine gunning the audience with moments of magic. And that is what is amazing. Mentalism can often run the risk, the danger of like having a 10-minute build up to revealing one thing. I think in this day and age, and certainly in that environment, that just doesn't fly anymore. And another thing that David and I have discussed a load is the idea of cramming as many amazing moments into any routine that you're doing, so that the audience just, in this day and age, with like YouTube, with everything that's so fast moving, the audience need that level. Right? Don't get me wrong. There is a time and a place for sitting with a group of 5 people, building up this amazing. Like I'll never forget the day that Ben Simon performed for David and I, Armando Lucero's coin, the coin maker.
So good, yeah, dude.
Yeah, what's it called though? It's got a coin menagerie.
Oh man, I can't remember. I know exactly what it is.
Someone will know in a second. However, Ben Simon literally went away. He said, "Look, I'll perform it for you, but not today. Let me practice for it. I've not done it in a few weeks. Let me practice it." We went. We got the close-up mat. We got the candles. We did it at night. It was like this perfect. The setting was amazing. He played the music, and it was like it's one of the most emotional things I will like remember for the rest of my life. It was amazing because the context was right and the build-up was amazing. So what I'm saying is there's a time and a place for the build-up to make something be powerful. I get it. However, when I've been on stage now performing some nights with Illusionist in a stadium for up to 8,000 people, if you want everyone to, like, 8,000 is also a weird ass number for people to still feel like they're engaging and being part of the magic. So everything I do has been designed to engage the entire audience at least one point in the routine. So like when you saw the show, like every routine I do, at some point it allows me to ask something of everyone in the room, so that at least everyone feels like they are connected to that experience and they're involved with that moment. Otherwise, here's the thing, if I just threw out a hat, pick someone at random, come up on stage, name a 2-digit number, 22, turn around a bit of card, in pencil, have I written 22? Thanks very much.
No
For that person, they're like, do you know what? That's kind of cool. But everyone else, if their experience is that's kind of cool, then as that dissipates towards the back of the room, it's like, who cares? So you need to then learn, how do you take that, make everyone feel involved, engage everybody, and make the routines feel like, and Shin, he does this with the music, the emotion that comes from that is insane, like in a good way. It's so good. But yeah, so emotion, connection, and immersing everyone in the experience are things that I really learned from all those environments, but definitely finding a place where you can go. People say a venue you can go to die, right? And I know what they mean. They go there, turn up, your stuff's not great, but then you polish it, you get better at it. But yeah, it's a place where you can go and do 5 minutes. That's going to be hard. Like comedy clubs for me in the UK became my go-to. Like the Stand Comedy Club, I will be forever grateful of turning up there, having a handheld mic, and having to learn how to connect with an audience. And I said it already, when you're able to connect with the audience without the trick, that in itself, like audiences just love two things. They love human connection and they love feeling understood. And I think if the magic or the mentalism that you do and convey can do that and help, like allow them to shine, allow them to be the star. This is why stage hypnosis is so good. The people shine. But more often than not, you don't remember the hypnotist. You remember the people. So I think if we take that model of making people look good and make them the stars, and we are seen to be the catalyst making that happen, and that connection, it all comes full circle. And that's when I think like real magical experiences can happen.
Wow. Yeah. I hope you guys are digging on this, by the way. There's so much fire coming out of Colin here. And you can tell.
I can't do a double lift, but boy, can I write some good one-liners.
Good. I have to admit, I did go see Shin and Colin at the Mirage do their New Vegas show a couple months before, actually about a month before all this stuff happened and the show got closed down. And Colin absolutely kills on stage. And I'm not blowing any smoke at all, dude. You are freaking awesome. You're a pro, but everything you just said is what led up to you being able to own a Las Vegas stage the way that you do. And I hope people are listening to that part of all of this.
Yeah, I mean, these are the real secrets. Like, here's the thing. Everyone watching this, you have enough tricks. You've got, like, you've got them, right? This is the truth. You need to now learn what you want to do with them to tell your story and connect with people in a way that they've not felt before. And that, I know it sounds like cliche and, like, annoying to, like, but that is the real magic. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. It's how you do it and how you make people feel and the experience you give them. That is literally it. That is like, yeah. I get there are new amazing tricks coming out all the time and, go to Murphy's and buy them all and all that stuff. But just learning who you are and learning how to use them as the bridge between you and people is like the main thing. Yeah. So hopefully this is of interest to someone out there.
Quick question for you, and it did pop up. I can't remember who it was from at the moment. The name, the name that you have, the stage name versus your pin name. Yes or no? Is that because you want to protect the secrets? Is that why you have
that's why I did it. Like I was already at, like I said, I was a speaker at a company in the UK called Tree of Knowledge, a motivation and engagement training organization who, when I joined them, we worked in schools. Then we went on the UK equivalent of the show Shark Tank. We overnight became like known by everyone, and business-wise, because people in business watch that show, corporations then started hiring us in to then do that. But then I also had just released a DVD set called Opening Minds under my real name. So then it was like people at the Tree of Knowledge events, I would only ever do one mentalism piece in those events because I found it a very dicey area to be doing motivational speaking essentially and talking about the real science of the mind and psychology and backing that up with like mentalism, in my opinion, is unethical, right? So I would open with one mentalism routine and I would say, look, we're going to get into the stuff, but before we do that, I'm going to show you who I am and what I do on the side. Boom. Did that. But then I would also, when I was doing these full day events, talking to groups for like 8 hours, after lunch, people would come back and they've Googled me and been like, oh, so if we buy this, can we learn how to do the thing you did at the start? And I'm like, shit. It's like, I don't want that. Like, I don't want people to, well, two things. Well, if people want to find secrets, they're going to find secrets. And here's the thing, everyone watching this, at some point, we had to go out there and actively find secrets. But I don't want it to be that easy for people. Like, I want it to be the right a level of difficulty that if you work to find the secrets, it's because you really want to invest time. And it's not because you want to just be like, that guy fooled me. I want to know how. Here's how he did it. Now I'm better than you. I don't know what, like that weird, I've been fooled psychology would be. But and also, if people are thinking that, then I've failed off the bat. But I just did not want people seeing me on anything, doing any show, and then being like, oh, cool, I can just go spend £40 and buy that DVD rather than spend, however much to hire him to come and do a show because, like, again, the tricks are not the secret. That's it's like you are the it. The it is you. But
Well said.
yeah, I wanted genuinely to protect the secrets. So like
Cool.
even normally something like this with my name on it, like normally in the Magic world, everything I do is Colin McLeod. Like here, I don't. We're not talking secrets here.
Yeah.
I'm talking about AGT, and like any singer out there could potentially watch this. And again, a singer going on these shows, same advice. As long as you know who you are and what you want to sing about, then same thing. So like,
Well said.
yeah, I'll be honest and say that I'm not as precious about it now as I used to be. That there was definitely a phase where I was paranoid about it
Oh
because
well.
I didn't want people. But now I think I've transcended that. I hope I have, and I now realize my own advice that I'm saying here, and that is that even if someone did know how I did it, then it's like hopefully the experience would still be amazing enough. And also, I don't release the methods. There are like 6 main routines that I have, and I will never release those methods until I'm not using them anymore. And you saw most of the routines in the show, and those are things that like will stay with me for life, I'm sure. And those are sort of things as well that are now so in depth. It's like Paul Daniels when I watched him teach his electric chairs on the Bravaro DVDs, I think they're called. If I'm saying that wrong or I've forgotten,
Is
I'm
it
really sorry.
bravado?
It's something like that,
Yeah.
yeah. But the Louis de Matros DVDs. Now, in my opinion, electric chairs is the greatest magic routine of all time. It's my favorite thing. I really love it, his thinking on it, his handling of people. I love everything about it. But it's layered. And I reckon if you're going to learn it, you need to do it bit by bit. And now every routine, the reason I'm using that as the example, every routine that I do on stage is the same. That like if you were going to do like my Q&A act, you couldn't just go learn it and do it all in one go. You need to start the way I did and then build on it layer upon layer so that you are like learning all the techniques that I've done in the certain order that I've done them. And when one bit doesn't work, how you recover. And so there's like Bravura, Bruvura. Yeah,
Yep.
the DVDs are amazing, right? Paul was insane. Like I was watching Paul Daniels live until like the year before he passed. Sadly, he was still doing Chop Cup. He was still doing electric chairs, and like I've seen him. I got to see him do that routine at least 10 times live, and it will always be the greatest thing I've ever seen. I love it for so many reasons. But yeah, that is. I don't even remember what the question was now. But oh, sorry, tangents and stuff. But I'm trying to give everyone the advice that if I were, hopefully, like people watching this, I'm trying to tell you, if I were you listening, I'm telling you the stuff that I would want to hear that like has genuinely really helped and impacted me. So like, if you're not enjoying it, I'm sorry, but I am genuinely telling you the real stuff that I think is important if you want to do well in this.
Well, here's a very important question for Colin Cloud. January X, a hobby of his we couldn't guess. No magic or entertainment. That's the real work.
Say that again. Sorry, you cut out at the start.
Oh, a hobby of yours that we could never guess, and it cannot be magic or entertainment wise. What's a hobby of yours that we would never be able to guess?
A hobby of mine. It's really bad, but like my life is very much absorbed in this stuff. Like my
I
life
get
is
it.
very much comedy, mentalism, exercising, hanging out with Chloe or cats or dogs. Like it's all consuming. Like I can literally sit all day working on like the best new way to to like do a billet move or something. Like one thing I will say is that for years I have wanted to learn to play the guitar, but being on tour with Illusionist the way I have been,
Yeah.
I was never able to learn it because like taking a guitar on the road on top of everything else that you're lugging around was never ideal. And Chloe very kindly surprised me and got me the guitar that I had been looking at online that I just loved. I was like, I told her, like, if I was ever going to learn the guitar, I would want this one because it looks like the guitar version of Sherlock Holmes's violin. So
Nice.
for the last couple of months, I'll be honest and say that we've been on tour and we've been dealing with this. So the guitar has sat very much gathering dust, but I am now assigning an hour every day to learn how to play guitar, which I have wanted to do since I was a kid. And all the guys in school were like the cool guys learning guitar and stuff, and I was like, nah, I'm going to practice magic. And then being that way, where it's like they were way cooler, and it's now hilarious to see that they have, they're not they're in good jobs, but they're not playing guitar anymore. And it's crazy now that I think back to that and being like, and now I'm the one that's pursued their passion because it was a bit more niche and unique. And it's just like, yeah, it's surreal, and I'm very grateful. But I now want to bring it full circle and learn guitar.
All right. All right. That's a good one. Man, there's a lot of questions here. Um,
Please
here's
all of
here's
them. Like, My friend David is watching, and he texted me and said, "You're answering these at a good pace." So, like, I think if we keep going at this rate, then I can
All right.
gun through a few more.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. This is a good one about mentalism. Obviously, we're going to have some magicians, but any entertainer, this would probably be a good answer for. Caleb Morgan says, "How do you make your mentalism play as big as possible on stage?" You know, that's a really tough thing sometimes because a lot of it's up here. You know.
Yeah, well, kind of. It kind of is up here. There's two ways. One is, like I said, engaging everyone right at the very start. And whether that's doing psychological forces with the entire audience so that everyone feels like, cool.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's one way. Second, right? Remember, if a comedian can stand on stage for an hour and be entertaining and be meaningful and not engage anyone and just have a mic, if they can do it, then we can do it too, right? That's the first thing to realize and really acknowledge. But then if we take some lessons from Ken Weber's book, and that is in Maximum Entertainment, he says, if you're going to speak to anyone for more than 10 seconds, have them stand up. I think he also says if you're going to speak to them for more than 60 seconds or 30 seconds, bring them on stage, which was like, well, that's kind of weird, but now it makes total sense. And here's the thing with mentalism, all magic, but mentalism especially. The audience on the whole are reacting to that person's reaction to what it is you're doing. So you want to go back to what I said earlier, like the hypnotist, you want that person to be on stage and you want them to shine. The better the experience the person on stage is having, the better the experience the entire audience are going to have. So the better you are at making the person on stage calm, comfortable, and playful, and molding them into the mindset where they want to engage with you, be a little bit cocky, a little bit challenging, but not like skeptical, clammed up asshole. You want them to be like in that good place, that good mindset where they want to try and trick you a little bit so that there is a journey. It's like the tightrope walker, okay? You want to see them wobble a little bit. You want the person on stage to make your life not easy so that when you are seen to be a vulnerable human being and you triumph over that interaction, that person feels good because they were the star. The audience feel like they've watched like the completion of a freaking small, drawn out, quick drama taking place. But because of that interaction, that's really what the rest of the audience are buying into, is that bouncing off each other. That's why if you only have someone stand up and say, name a 2-digit number, boom, is it 22? Yes. Oh, like you've missed so much of the point, right?
Yep.
It's like, I want to know about that person. I want to know who they are. What are the give me some context about that individual, and then that relationship between you and them, that's what the audience buy into, is that thing playing out, that thing happening. The other way, like, that's kind of obvious is like there's different ways. There's 3 ways of revealing stuff on like a notepad, for example, that I've thought about, and I'm sure other people have done this without realizing they're doing it. But basically, you can, for example, if you're thinking of the name, like, I don't know, like Chloe. If you're thinking Chloe, I can write down Chloe on the pad and say, tell everyone what you're thinking of. You say Chloe, and I go, boom, Chloe. Or I can write Chloe here, show it to the audience so they can see it. And then I can say, tell everyone who you're thinking of. They go Chloe, and everyone goes nuts because they're already a step ahead of this dynamic playing out. So the other way, of course, is just saying, think of for on stage, I think this is like the weakest, and that is just saying to you, think of the name. Is it Chloe? And you go, yes, because then the audience are having to trust that that's right. I think having this, unless you're doing like a Q&A where you're revealing stuff over and over and over again, and it's happening, you're getting too many yeses from around the room, the audience just, there's no other way than you must be doing this. But I think when you're doing building up to one routine, either having it written and they say it and then you show it, or you show the audience and they say it and then the audience are seeing it at the same time. I think that thinking about that context, in its simplest form, without getting into the bigger ways that I've then taken that is like the step one of thinking about that.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a great question because as an entertainer, that's your job, is to, command the stage and do it. And mentalism can be tough sometimes to do that. So
yeah, you're hiding behind nothing really, and that is it. So you need to know who you are, and you need to be comfortable enough up there, without the tricks to make it be the best that it can be,
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I've had some people say they can't wait to see you live, and I'm telling you guys, when you see Colin, you will see every bit of why he's a pro. I mean, you're polished, dude. You're so polished. I mean, you and Shin together, obviously, but I mean, the stuff that you're
I think
doing
that's
up
why it
there.
works though. Shin and I are so different. We
Yeah,
contrast, but we complement so much, you know. So it's
really.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Here's a question from actually one of my early mentors.
Okay.
Love this guy. Great question. Doug James says, have you always focused on mentalism, or did you perform as a magician and then evolve into a mentalist? You know, let's go back to the early beginnings of Colin McLeod.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. True story. I got a Paul Daniels magic set as a kid. My cousin Karen, she learned to do the tricks before I did. She showed the family, so naturally I was really pissed off that she could do them better than I could. So it actually put me off magic a little bit, in all honesty. But then I kind of was interested. I was more interested in Paul McKenna, the hypnotist
Oh
in the
yeah,
UK,
yeah.
who could like just click his fingers and people would just fall asleep. I was like, what is happening here? So I was more interested in that. But also, like in the UK, we had like comedy shows on every Friday night on BBC Two. Things like Father Ted, The Fast Show, Harry Enfield and Chums, Chewing the Fat in Scotland. All these shows that were just comedy, and I just loved analyzing why was that funny. And like I can watch a comedian now and find them hilarious, but not laugh once because my brain's too busy analyzing the jokes, which is really weird. I know, but I've just always loved knowing and analyzing how stuff works. So I've always been interested in magic from the point of view of understanding how. But then I've never really had any real desire to go out and like sometimes I go through phases where like recently like Chloe, my wife, who's also a magician, she was learning a bunch of coin stuff and like so it is interesting then to sit with a coin and just play with a coin for like a minute and be like, you know, what moves can I remember and you know stuff like that. So I dabble in everything because most of the methods I use have been inspired by other areas of magic. Like you've seen me on stage, you know that I do ring flight on stage, which is typically a magic
So
trick.
good, dude. The way that you wrap it all up. Oh, it's great. So good.
But yeah, but then I'm like, I do that. I'm really weird. I'll go like, right, what is something a mentalist would never do? Or usually, the truth is, I'll go, what would Darren Brown never do? Right? Because the last thing I want to do on stage is just be that. So it's like, what would he never do? Cool, right. How can I do it in a way that Sherlock Holmes would do it? Cool. How can I make it funny? Okay. And how can I involve everyone? Okay. And then I'll just shape and mold it around this weird dynamic. So yeah, yeah, I think that's kind of just how my brain has always worked. Is that I'll want to understand and I want the knowledge of everything so that my brain can be a more efficient and a more effective computer to analyze this stuff. But I've never had any real desire to go out and just do just magic. For me, it's not enough about other people. I love more learning about people and engaging them in
Sure.
the experience. And there are just people who will now be always better at magic than I will be. So I would rather not learn it, be able to watch them do it, enjoy it. And I think being able to still experience a certain level of like appreciating good magic that you don't know, I think knowing that feeling is great. And again, to quote Weber, you know, magicians keep secrets for people, not from people. And I think
Mm.
that's a really important distinction. So being able to hold on to that mindset a little bit of what it feels like to be a maze still really does then help you when it comes to how you share that experience with other people because you can genuinely still feel it yourself.
Well said. Here's a nice bit of love for you too. I want to make sure we get not just questions but some nice comments too. Dylan Murray says, this is a masterclass in moving the art of mindset mentalism forward. He says that your creative thinking is a work of art. When he purchased your Opening Minds DVD set, it was a great start for myself in getting involved in mentalism. Dylan Murray. Which brings me to my question from Lane. What is the best books, DVD slash video for a beginner mentalist? So let's say that someone is interested in getting into the art of mentalism. They've never touched it. They've never done it. A beginner resource. What would Colin Cloud recommend?
So like if this was a question like after the show, like I do talk a lot about the people I give them like depends on how much I'm trying to throw people off. Here I'm going to give you the real answer though, right? Number one, thank you very much for like the kind compliment that genuinely means a lot, and I'm glad that me talking here for like an hour now is not pointless because again I'm not your typical magician turning up just giving you trick after trick. That's just not what I'm into. It's not who I am, and for the right reasons. But also the opening mind DVDs, on those I did not put any of my presentations on there only because the presentations I feel are what make me me and they're the hardest thing to come up with.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, that if you own a trick, you don't then own the right to the person's presentation. Unfortunately, right? It's like, yeah, you went and bought the paint, but you can't paint the same picture as that artist. It's like, what are you going to paint? So that's the way I look at it. But with regards to then the other question, sorry, then repeat the second part of that.
Basically, just a good beginner, like a good
Sorry,
beginner
beginner's
resource for
right.
minimalism
So
and
like,
stuff like that. Yeah.
right, my favorite book in all of Magic is In Search of the Sensational by it's about Maurice Fogel, but it's by Richard Mark and Christopher Woodridge, I think. I forget the last name now, but it's a book that I've got like 5 books over there that I go back to and read every year over and over again. Maximum Entertainment by Ken Weber is like the crucial book for every magician, every mentalist, every performer, really.
Yeah.
Like anyone I speak to about performance, I mention that book. It's just, yeah, it's insane. I do love reading the classics. I love reading like when like every convention. Like I love finding stuff that's really old, not stuff that's really new, because I love seeing the old stuff and being like, right, how can I rework that and like what can I come up with? But I think the best 2 DVDs for mentalism, if you want to get into it, one is Bob Cassidy's Mental Miracles, is just phenomenal. And number 2 is Richard Osterland's Mind Mysteries #1. I think those 2 resources are the 2 that are really just a joy. And like if you take those and learn that material, done. You're now a mentalist if you do it well, and then go find out who you want to be performing it. But those 2 are just amazing.
Cool. All right. Very good. Very good. I was going to ask you a question from me to you. I had something queued up that we haven't talked about just yet. I showed a little bit of the clips of you on AGT. We do have performers out there, different skill levels, different people wanting to market themselves and be better. I have a clip of you on a talk show. You were doing some talk show magic, and I was, maybe we could kind of end on this, maybe take another question after this. But when it comes to talk shows, one, they're very kind of like uncontrolled environment. You're in a very, usually a live environment too, which is kind of talk.
Yeah.
But why don't you kind of walk through what a TV appearance is like for someone that's maybe wanted to do it and is kind of shied away from it? Just maybe some general advice when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll be honest and say a talk show environment is very different to an AGT. AGT, you go in and you rehearse that routine 4 or 5 times without the judges being there. There are stand-ins for the judges, and they write some of the comments for judges to then pick up on and talk about and joke about. But the judges don't see it until it's actually shot live, right? So, but you are on that, like in the Dolby Theater. Like over that period, I basically lived in the Dolby Theater for like a month of my life, which is amazing. But you're like testing it loads, and you're rehearsed, and you're ready to go, and the camera angles are ready. A talk show, like I said at the beginning with Shin, when we turn up, those are going to be loose. And like, yeah, you need to almost imagine that everything you plan for is going to go out the window because of how chaotic presenters of these shows are trained to be. Like they're designed to be this ball of excitement that's literally all over the place, and it's so unpredictable. So basically, when I would in the UK, there's a show called This Morning, and it's a bit more calm in that they're on the sofas and it's a chat, and at the end you do 1 routine or 2 routines, whatever, right? That was very calm. But I've found in America, you guys are just unhinged. Like I have no idea what they're drinking in the morning, right? But so the first time I went on one, I had this plan of what I was going to go through and how it was going to build, but then I realized people just want to scream and freak out at the first thing that you do, and it's like, okay, very kind and whatever, but there's more to come. So you almost have to go on to these things being ready to almost stop at any point or ready for everything to change last minute. Like they're way more loose. So in my opinion, if you're going to do a talk show, you want to make it a very easy routine that can have other layers built into it that you may or may not use. But one core simple concept, one easy thing that happens. And that easy thing is the main thing. And the other bits around it are like, they may or may not happen. Who knows? And even scripting for those things. Like when I did, what's the thing with, it's Good Morning America or something, I forget. But I did it when we did Broadway, I was there in the morning. And
like the Today Show or something?
Something like that, yeah. And I decided who had done it a lot. Oz Perlman had done it a lot. So I basically I text Oz and I was like, hey man, what routine have you never done on these shows? Because like Oz is on this show all the time. And what I don't want to do is step on someone else's toes, So it was like one thing that he hadn't done was like a Russian roulette. And I haven't done it in years. I would never normally do it, but like I just wanted to be respectful of Oz and be like, right, I won't do something he's done or a variation of that. decided I'm just going to do standard that, keep it simple, and had all this other information I could reveal about the presenters. So, but it was very much, if you see that clip, like as much as the smashing the cups is the main thing, for me that's like, I hate that routine, but it was like, cool, I wouldn't normally do it. We'll do it once and then I'll never do it again in my life. But the other reveals were the interesting part. And that's the part that was going to be very unpredictable. So you need to just be a bit more loose with those. And again, that's where being a competent performer is key. If you go in there relying purely on the trick, then you're dead. If you go in there relying on the trick's a bonus, and like whatever happens with that happens, then yeah, then you're going to be fine. But it's a very different environment to the likes of a late night talk show or an AGT.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a very uh, raw environment. I've helped out a couple of my friends that have done TV appearances, and you're kind of at their mercy for the most part. You know, when it
Yeah.
comes to where they shoot stuff and the way, and they could also cut you short. You know, your segment could
Oh,
be cut short
the
if there's
numbers.
news coming in. Like you just never know.
If I hear one more person say to me, "We've got 30 seconds left," mid routine, like honestly, see when someone says, right, I'll be honest, and I will say that now I'm at a point where when someone says to me, "We've got 30 seconds left," by the way, I I now purposefully see how long I can drag that shit out for. I on purpose, just because of how much I hate them saying it, I then like to try and get that to like, I think my max is almost like 2 minutes after it,
Hmm.
which is just, oh, but I get it. Like I know they're on a schedule and whatever, but this is what I meant earlier when I said it's the wrong environment for good magic to shine because it's like there is a time limit. It's like I want people to care, but when they've got someone in their ear saying 30 seconds left, how can that person enjoy what you're doing for real when
Hmm.
they're not really in that space, in that zone? So it's almost like I've done a few things as well where I've made it clear that apparently for the process, the presenter has to take their earpiece out
Hmm.
so that I can really have them and like I'll do stuff like that now just so that I'm a bit more in control of it. But yeah, ultimately go on there with quick routines that allow you to shine, you to be the thing that's remembered, and you know the routines. Like I said, it's the bonus. I will also say, annoyingly, a number of things I've done on TV shows have only been tested for like a few days before because the TV show's last minute. I don't want to burn a good routine on a show that I don't feel is above a 7 plus. In my head, I've got like certain levels of where I'll happily do stuff and where I won't do it. But I do think that some of the stuff that I've done, everything I do, I'm very critical. I know could have been better in places. I've learned a lot from everything, and that's why like I'll happily tell you this stuff here because if we can learn from the mistakes of others and be honest and like then good on everyone.
Yeah, well said. Um, Here's one last question, and then I'm going to let you get out of here. One, do you guys have any plans on touring the Limitless show? I know that you are doing it domestically. Any international after all this garbage is done in the world right
Mhm.
now? Any thoughts on international tours of Limitless?
Yeah, there was talk of some other cities and other countries having us there for runs.
Okay.
I know that when we're back up and running, Vegas is going to be the place that we really want to, embed that. And I mean, there are lots of amazing magic shows here, but I think our show is a very different vibe to any other. There's no big stage illusion, but that's kind of on purpose. There are still illusioning moments without ruining any surprises. There are still bigger things that happen, but that's not the point. The point is that it's magic that is intimate, that is personal, that does engage the entire audience throughout, which is one thing Shin and I have learned to have in common. And even though Shin's music is often the emotional hook for the audience and you're watching a screen, excuse me, there are still new things that he's doing in the show that have engaged everyone. So, everyone feels a part of the magic. So, we're a very different feeling show. I think getting embedded here in the culture of Vegas is going to be our next big move and really making this our home for a while. And then after that, we can then look at, okay, let's take a week and go there, or let's take a month and,
Yeah.
and go there. But I think, no, that is the big thing.
Cool. And then on the way out of here, any Colin Cloud books or works? I know you mentioned it before, so I wanted to kind of end on this too. Any new Colin Cloud stuff coming out in the next foreseeable future? Any
Well,
new
yeah, like I
works?
said, like I've been using this time now to really start writing all the stuff I wanted to write.
Yeah.
Been filming a bunch of stuff. Actually, yeah, even with Shin. I mean, right, here's the thing, right? We're being responsible, social distancing. Shin and I have not seen like human beings for like a week. He moved here for a week we haven't had any interaction with anyone else. But then yesterday we met up and had dinner. We were still like sat far apart and stuff. But last night I shot some stuff with him to just bring a lot of projects together that I've been working on for a while. So actually, at the moment, as it happens, this I am gonna release. Just I was gonna do this anyway, but I'm gonna get it up and running now. And yeah, if anyone wants to find out any more, I mean, I won't. I really hate the sales side of things. Has never been my thing. But if anyone's interested in finding out more when it's ready, and I'm not one of those guys who will like launch it as a. I hate pre-release. Like, oh, nothing pains me more than when Helder would email me and say the book's going to be yet another month of waiting. And I love Helder dearly, but oh, that was painful waiting that long. But it was worth the wait. But my email address for stuff like this, if anyone has any questions, more importantly, about anything, this is my email address. And if you want to email me questions, first of all, here, please do, right? And if I don't know the answer right away, I'll try and find the answer. Otherwise, if you want to like send an email there so that when the stuff is ready, when I'm happy with it, again, it might take me a bit of time because I'm very critical of everything I do. But if you email me there, then when it's ready, I can shoot you an email and say, hey, if you're interested, check out psychartist.com when it's up and running fully, and you'll see a bunch of stuff appearing there.
Very cool. All right. And any ideas on, I mean, you don't have, I mean, you're a mentalist, but you can't predict when the show will come back at the Mirage.
We have tentative dates, by the way, and I will say that the dates are sooner than people might be imagining. Now, if it's right, safe, and morally the right thing to do, then yeah, we'll be back up and running very soon. If we feel like, do you know what, for people's safety, we should take a bit longer, then we'll do it. But what the important takeaway from that is that we will be up and running again. And I say that because if we're going to be up and running again, then magicians watching this need to know that, do you know what, for all of us, it's going to take a bit of time. Yeah. But the world is in this situation. It's not just magicians that have been affected by this. It's the world. We are going to be up and running again soon. So like be using this time to improve everything that you were doing. So like I said at the start, when we come out of this, you're in a stronger position than you have been before. The stuff you're doing can be more original. It can be more unique. Any lines that you were using that you've heard someone else say, use this time to like change that. Like your magic at the end of this can be in a better place. So the product that you're selling at the end of this can be so polished, so desirable that you're going to be back working again, in no time. And yeah, use this time to not panic. Use this time to be constructive, productive. And again, yeah, I honestly think at the end of this, we can allow ourselves to be feeling better about where we're at than when we went into it.
Well said. Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to getting on the other side of this too. And also, thank you for, helping us to get through this. You popping on here and hanging out. I know we were supposed to do this earlier in the week. I'm actually kind of glad it happened on the weekend. Some new faces popping up, but I was awesome. A bit sick, but we made it happen, Colin. We made it happen.
Absolutely. No, listen, thank you for your time. Again, I know it's not the type of magic interview you might normally have but hopefully there's something in there for everyone. And like, again, if anyone wants to email me and ask me a more direct question that I maybe missed out on, please do, and I'll happily respond.
Right on, my friend. Well, you take care of yourself, and let's just all take care of each other, but stay safe out there, Colin. And I sincerely do appreciate the time. One of the good guys here, guys. So make sure to keep up with him and come to Las Vegas when we open. Go see Limitless at the Mirage. Dude, great stuff you guys are doing over there. Keep it up.
Much love. Take care.
Later,
Stay safe.
See you.
See you soon, man. Bye-bye.